Okay, let's get started. Welcome, everybody. And this is a really exciting class that we have prepared for you. And the topic is about the 6 ways of how you can make money and build wealth in real estate. Now, usually the folks that are interested in this class and are in the audience today you're here because number one, you're interested in real estate as an asset class. In fact, it's a great asset class, right? It's something that you can feel and touch. That's all what we always say in terms of real estate. It's not like a virtual type of asset, and it has great potential for appreciation, depending on your strategy, of course. And we're going to talk about the different strategies where how you can make it appreciate and make it a great asset to own. Now, real estate investment is also a great vehicle to grow and secure your financial future too. And that's what we're talking about in terms of wealth building. And so, congratulations for being here and really taking control of your financial future and your financial security. Now, let's get started. Now, we're all here because we know that real estate investments can be a very lucrative business, right? If we know how to do it, that's the most important thing. You can lose money too. So how can we kind of avoid all the pitfalls and make sure that it will stay lucrative for us? Right? You probably personally know somebody who has invested in real estate and made big profits or have built a substantial wealth over time. In fact, we're working with someone right now that has built a close to 100 property portfolio, and she's sitting on a lot of equity right now. So how do we get into this game, right? We're gonna spend the next hour learning about the different ways we can play this game and how we can really excel in it. Now, to just kind of show you, what success may look like, here are a couple of success stories. And obviously, every deal is different, every case is different, and some of these are kind of outsized profits as well. So it's certainly not representative of what an average deal may look like. But these are some of the deals our clients have sent us, and they're kind of impressive. So we want to show it here. All right. So this is a deal where the investor made $46,500. Okay, and then we got a couple more too. Like these are even bigger. Every deal is a little bit bigger. This one is quite a bit bigger. $85,610 profit. Okay, and then here's another one, right? $88,862 profit. So if you do it right, if you know what you're doing, you can make quite a bit of profits. So naturally, the question is, how can I work deals like this? How can I find these deals? How can I work the deals? And how can I structure the deal so I can make this amount of profit? And how can I make money? So we're gonna answer those questions in this webinar, especially kind of the first half of our class today. We're gonna talk about how you can make money, right? The money-making techniques. And then we're going to dive into a little more advanced, which is the wealth building portion of it. All right. So I hope you're excited and you're kind of ready to go, and you're taking notes, right? So our promise to you is that at the end of this class, you're going to understand the top 3 money-making techniques and also the wealth building techniques using real estate investments as a vehicle. And typically, this class is for new investors looking to get started. And I would say the wealth building part can be a little bit advanced, because it has to do with tax laws as well. And so if you have been investing for a while and you kind of see the wealth building piece, it could be new for you also. So make sure you take good notes and write down any questions you have. And you can either ask it on the chat here, or you can join us at our weekly office hours and ask those questions live. Now, I have found that, we talk about there's a term called digital deluge, which means we're just inundated by notifications and so many things kind of flooding our either physical inbox or digital inbox, and it can be very distracting. I have tried multitasking, and that is just not something that's very effective for me personally. And I have found that I learn much better if I turn off my distractions and I'm really focused on just kind of one thing, being present and do one thing. And I feel I feel like I gain more from my time as well. So, it's about how can we effectively use our time and get the most out of it instead of trying to do too many things and, we never do one thing well, right? It's about doing one thing really, really well. So, with that said, our suggestion would be to really kind of focus, right, and take good notes on an important class like this, and use the chat too. You can use the chat to connect with your fellow audience, fellow classmates, and you can also save the chat so you can save everyone's contact information. So I highly recommend that you use the chat as a way to network, right, and as a way to uh, gain the most out of this session, right, the next hour, and really make an effort to connect for coffee, for example, after the class, and make quality connections. Quick disclaimer, this class is for educational purposes only, right? Some of the examples we have is maybe real case, right? As what I just shared with you earlier. Some are simplified examples, so it's easier to kind of follow the math and really understand how the deals work. And so keep in mind of that. Always do your due diligence, right? Whenever it comes time to analyze and make an investment decision. And we don't offer investment, financial, or legal advice. This is just for educational purposes only. Always do your due diligence. So, quick story, background about myself. I have, as I grow our company, Real Estate IQ, which focuses on helping investors find deals and also find success in real estate and using real estate as a vehicle to build wealth. I have kind of really honed in on my marketing skills, and I think as you grow your business, you're forced to pick up a lot of skill sets, and so real estate data and what we call intelligence augmentation, right, using AI to help us make faster and more reliable decisions. And that's my background. And before that, my background was in science and engineering, so very technical background. But I was always interested in real estate and the very kind of passive earning power of real estate. And what I learned over time is that there's actually ways you can make income very quickly as well in real estate. So kind of both kind of active, right, active income and passive income, and the wealth building factors of it really piqued my interest in real estate investments, and that's why I'm here today. Kind of spreading the language, spreading the belief, I guess. And I had this struggle, and I still see kind of a lack of information and good data, good knowledge out there. And I think it has improved, and that's what Real Estate IQ is all about. And I think you're just fortunate to be here today because you can get the knowledge, get the data and tech, and also our hope is that you can leverage this opportunity and leverage our community to network with mentors and fellow entrepreneurs, and really kind of use all the resources to grow your business. Because of all this struggle, as we were kind of learning about real estate investments and kind of doing the deals, we have built Real Estate IQ to address these issues, these problems, right? Webinars and classes, because education is the ultimate equalizer, right? It really kind of helps us rise up to the level that we want to play in. And we offer deal finding, right? Distressed owner, distressed seller, distressed property information. That's what we call a deal. You have to, it's a certain type of distress and situation that allows you to acquire the deal at a good price or good terms, so that you can monetize on the deals, right? So we offer you that data. And then also, finally, we offer a deal makers community. It's a support system that helps you find help and get questions answered, and which I find is extremely important. You kind of, when you're just starting, you kind of need someone who is experienced and have gone through the struggle and have dealt with those problems, and just have somebody who can kind of help you make the deals happen. I find that very, very important. That was the first thing I did, is to find somebody who can mentor me and help me uh, uh, do the deals, different types of deals and situations. So it just saves so much time and struggle and headache when you have a trusted a mentor, a trusted coach that can help you out. All right, so without further ado, right, let's get started. So today we have 3 portions for this class. The first portion is going over money-making techniques, right? This is about kind of making quick, short-term money now, and how you can make a living using real estate. And then the second topic generally receives more attention because the long-term goal in real estate is usually about building assets that work for us, even when we are still sleeping, right? The passive earning techniques and how we can build the wealth, right, as we're sleeping. So that's a very exciting topic, and we'll go over that next. And then finally, we talked about a couple of bonus materials. If you have read about the introduction of this class, we got a couple of tools that we want to share with you, and that's our bonus material that we're going to share. Make sure you stay until the very end, and I'll share with you the link and the code, the QR code of how you can find and download these materials. Okay, so let's get started, right? So let's talk about the top 3 money-making techniques. And I would say the most popular one and the most lucrative one is fix and flip. So essentially, you're buying what we call an ugly house, right? It's an ugly house or outdated house, and you usually want to buy it at a discount. Okay, you improve it, and then you sell it for more than you pay for it, and you keep the difference as a profit. How the money is made is usually you need to, number one, is to buy it below market value. And usually it's because of the condition of the house, right? Maybe, like I said, it's ugly, or because of distress. An example of distress would be a home needing a lot of work, or a house going into foreclosure in the next 30 days. And so the owner either lose everything and potentially owe more money after losing the house, or they can sell it to you. So that's a very strong sign of distress. And then you add value through renovation. And you got to control the cost. You got to know, what you need to do to fix up the house to improve the property, and then you capture the what we call a spread, right? The sale price minus everything you put in the house, the purchase, the rehab, the financing cost, the closing cost, holding cost, everything, and then you get your net profit. And I'll have an example for you to kind of really visualize what the numbers may look like. The key benefit for fix and flip is that there is a potential for relatively big profit in a relatively short time. Usually maybe a quick project could be 3 months, maybe it can go as long as 10 months, up to a year. but usually it's months and not years. And you can build capital by what we call forced appreciation here, where improving and forcing it to appreciate. And you have a active and hands-on way of kind of controlling this project. And we usually say that fix and flip is more of a construction project. After you get the house, you gotta manage that construction project really well, control your costs and your schedule and the quality of the renovation, and improve it in such a way that you can sell at a profit. So risks, right? Everything has risk. You're gonna do, even sitting around, there's a risk to it as well. So the risk of fix and flip is that the price or buyer demand may go down during the time of your project. So just when you thought it's gonna sell high, if the price actually went down, then you may suffer a loss, right? It's possible. So you want to always be mindful of that, and that's why we also encourage our users and our clients and investors in general to really stay on top of the real estate market update. And we share this on a weekly basis in our Thursday live stream to share with you what's happening in the industry and what's happening with the market on a weekly basis. So you get to stay on top of it. All right. We call it about market risk, right? If the price tanks while you're in the middle of the project, you could be either wipes out whatever profit that you thought you would have, or you may suffer a loss. Okay, so let's be very real about that. Usually, you want to purchase it in such a way that you can account for a potential dip in the market, and the market is also seasonal. So, as you become a more seasoned investor, you've gone through and understand the different seasons, you are gonna make the right decision in terms of pricing and when you want to work on the project and when you want to put it on the market and all that. So you can, as you get more educated, you're gonna learn how to minimize and play with these risks, right? The other one, very, very important, is these are construction risk. So if the cost goes over, right, cost overrun, if you have contractor issues, you have permit delays, and making the project more expensive than needed. We do have a fix and flip workshop that you can purchase and attend, and I highly recommend that before you before you start a project, is to kind of learn the ins and outs of what you need to do, and then ideally work with someone who is experienced and can walk you through it. I think kind of having the education gives you the basic foundation and the language, and then also having someone experienced that you work with to kind of bridge that gap until you feel comfortable in doing that. I think that's a golden combination. Right, and then there's financing and holding risk. Usually when you do a short-term flip, you take out financing that has a higher interest rate, and if the schedule, right, if the construction goes over, actually we have a deal right now that has gone cost overrun and a schedule overrun right now that has increased the cost of the flip. The good thing was we were able to acquire the property with enough margin, right? And the discount was so big that we're still expecting to come out ahead. And so just something to kind of keep in mind. And again, there are things that you can do to minimize some of these risks. Okay. Let's talk about the 70% rule of thumb, right? This is one of the rule of thumbs that you should know. And as a demonstration for the rule of thumb, we have also prepared an example. So what the 70% rule of thumb is that everything you put in on the house, you should only be putting in up to 70% of the after repair value of the property. Okay, after repair value means what the house looks like and what the market value would be after you fully fix it up. So this is how we would use this rule of thumb. Okay, and once you get good at it, you can probably do it in your head. So number one is we need to figure out what the after repair value is, and you do that by looking at the comparables in the area, right? All the neighboring houses that were recently sold. How much were they selling for? And based on that, you can come up with the value, and you multiply it by 70%. So in this example, let's say the after repair value is $500,000. You take 70%, that's 350,000. And then we would subtract the repair budget. Okay, so subtracting that means the offer that I would make is $280,000. That's our distress offer. Also, you may also hear it as learn it as maximum allowable offer. Maximum allowable offer. Okay. The glossary is going to contain all these terms. Now, if we kind of go back into here, right? So just kind of adding all the numbers up, how does it work? So if I purchase it at 280, then I put $70,000 in, and then that means everything I put in is 350,000, which means there is $150,000 or 30% of the spread, right? That's a margin, that a profit that I can make. All the additional cost of the project, is gonna be accounted for in that 30%. And if there's any kind of margin of error, is gonna be part of that 30%. So usually that 70% rule makes sure that in most cases there is enough margin built in that you're not gonna end up losing money on the deal. So that's a very important thing, is that we follow that 70% rule, and we only this is our maximum offer. This is the max we can offer based on this formula. And just to demonstrate what the other 30% would be, okay, here's an example. So 30% of the $500,000 after repair value is 150. And so with that, you gotta pay for closing cost. There is holding costs, right? Insurance, electricity, utilities, I think that's probably the majority of it. Let me see. Utilities, you got home insurance, right? And if it requires landscaping to maintain the house or whatnot, right? Those are all part of the holding cost. And then you have the financial cost. Okay, financial cost means if I take out a hard money or private money loan, these are usually short-term, high-interest loans. If we leverage that, usually leveraging is gonna make it so that we can potentially make better cash-on-cash profit. And so some people may decide to use their own funds, but in this case, in real estate investments, people usually leverage a short-term loan, high-interest kind of lender to help with the purchase and the rehab of the property. And as a result, you got incurred this financial cost. There are origination fees and interest that you got to pay for financial costs. Now, as you can see, even if you account for that, you are subtracting all of those costs, you can still make, in this case, $90,000 of profit. That's still a really nice sized profit, considering that you just need to find a deal, right? You get financing. You probably need a little bit of capital and liquidity in your bank account in order to qualify for the short-term high-interest loan. Lenders usually want to see that you have liquidity in your bank, even if they are funding 100% of the deal. So typically, you're going to need a little bit of capital to play the fix and flip game. What else? In the fix and flip business, you are in the construction. business, right? You're managing this project, you're managing contractors, you're managing the budget, you're managing the schedule, what needs to be done to fix up all that. So cost overruns and project delays can eat into your profit. Okay. If you have any questions on fix and flip, any comments, we'd love to see it. Okay, next is wholesaling. Okay, so wholesaling, we're kind of going down to the, in terms of the amount of capital that you need or liquidity that you need in your bank account. Fix and flip is going to require the most. Wholesale is going to require less. And then the third method is going to require the least. So in terms of wholesale, what you do is that you find a distressed seller, right? And you secure the property under contract. Okay, so it's a signed contract. Usually it will need to be below what an investor is willing to pay for it. And then you sell the contract, right? So you're reselling the contract, which is the right to purchase the house, not the house itself. So you sell the contract to another investor and you can make a fee out of that. So usually the time frame for wholesale is much less, right? A fix and flip is a several month kind of project. A wholesale deal is just 1 or 2 months, right? 3 months or so to monetize. Okay. Your profit is the assignment or wholesale fee, and it's commonly a couple $1,000s, about 5 to 10% of the property price. Of course, it depends on the deal size as well. So the key benefit for wholesale is that it requires a low capital entry. All right, you can get started with very little money. You just need to pay for the marketing. All right, usually what you need is a list of distressed sellers or distressed properties that you can do outreach to, and then you got also pay for the marketing. You should have a marketing budget, right, as a wholesaling business. And you also need some earnest money to put the house under contract as well. There is no rehab or long holding period like fix and flip, so you avoid the construction and the kind of time risk. The great way to do that is to build a buyer's list in addition to have a list of distressed sellers that you can acquire the property from, or not acquire, but to get them to agree to sign a contract with you, so you can lock it up. The risk about this method is that there might be wholesaling rules and regulations in your particular state. And some states may require you to become a licensed agent before you can do that. And if you overpay in a contract, or you can't find a buyer in time, then you're gonna risk not being able to sell that contract, and you could lose your earnest money. There are ways to mitigate that. And you gotta get really good with lead generation and maintaining trust with your seller. So those are the things that you need to watch out for wholesale. This is a demonstration of a wholesale. So in this case, right, if you remember, everyone remember the example that we were running. Now, instead of doing the fix and flip itself, I'm a wholesaler, so I want to sell it to a fix and flip investor. So in this case, I need to subtract my wholesale fee. So let's say I want to make $20,000 wholesale fee, then the maximum offer that I would make is $260,000. So if I put it under contract for $260,000, I tack on my wholesale fee, then the investor can buy at $280, and they can still fit the 70% rule. And because of that, I have created value for the fix and flip investor. And the reason is it's not easy. It's difficult to find distressed sellers and putting it under contract. The value that we're bringing to the market is that we got it under contract, and we got a seller ready to sell, and the buyer really appreciate that. Right? So as a result, we make the $20,000. And for a fix and flipper, as long as they can acquire a property with that 70% rule, and they're already going to make their margin, they would be happy to pay you a wholesale fee. Cool. The third technique is called bird dogging. And as a bird dog, your job is a lot easier. Okay, you just need to look for motivated sellers or distressed or undervalued property. So you could be kind of driving around and you can see a house that's abandoned. And what you would do is you want to figure out who the seller is and get a hold of the seller. In that case, if it's a abandoned house, and the owner, you can reach the owner. Usually, they will want to sell if you can help them to sell the house, and then you don't need to put it under contract. You just need to get the information, pass it on to either an investor or wholesaler that can put it under contract for you. So how you can get paid as a bird dog is you would either kind of get paid a flat fee for every deal that's closed, right? That's called finder's fee. Typically, you can probably make at least $500 at least per deal. If the deal size is bigger, you can get it. You can get a bigger finder's fee usually, and so typically it's a flat fee. I see a lot of flat fees, $500 to $2,000, up to $2,000 per deal, and or a percentage of the profit. You can negotiate like something like that with the investor. Usually it would need to be like a fix and flip deal that they can exit. So payment usually happens at closing or right after closing. When the investor finishes when the whole transaction is done, and usually as a bird dog, it's recommended that you request to get paid at closing. It's the easiest. So in this case, you want to make sure you make an agreement with an investor that when you bring them the deal and they close it, they're gonna get you paid. So the difference between bird dogging and wholesaling, right? So what's the difference? For bird dogs, they don't get the property under contract. The wholesaler would get under contract. And a bird dog would simply find the lead and refer the lead to someone who closes it. So it makes it a lot easier, right? So your job is just to find it, right? And refer the lead over to the investor that you work closely with. It has the lowest risk. It has the lowest amount of responsibility. And as a result, there are smaller fees. You don't make as big of a fee as you would as a wholesaler. Now, that said, it makes the job a lot easier. You just gotta, consistently going out there and getting the leads, right? And kind of working with an investor that knows how to convert these deals, and you're gonna get paid. You don't have to spend a lot of your time following up on the leads or whatnot, right? You're just, finding the lead, making the referral, and then you keep moving. You keep moving on. I think it's really good for someone who's just getting started, or you're kind of doing it more like a side gig. And my recommendation is just do it consistently, right? Just don't you want to keep doing it. Find a couple of hours a day or a couple of hours every week, right? Several days a week to just kind of consistently doing it. And then when you have it's always a volume game, right? A numbers game. So if you have enough leads, a percentage of those leads will convert, and that's how you get paid. So wholesalers, you A wholesaler would sign the contract, right, with the seller, and they can control the deal because they own the contract. And there's more risk, there's more work, but a larger payday for a wholesaler. Cool. So as a mini recap for this first segment, fix and flip, you're gonna have a biggest payday out of these top three techniques. You are in the construction business. You are taking more risk, right? You got to hold the property for longer. There's more expenses. You have to manage the project. You have market risk. You have construction risk. A wholesaler, you're in marketing and deal finding business, right? Your risk is lower. You can make the money a little bit faster because you're gonna put in a contract. You find a seller, and when the deal closes, you're gonna get paid. The skill is on how you can find deeply discounted deals that are ready to put them under contract. And then bird dogging is you're in the relationship and the marketing business. You're gonna end up talking to the seller, right? Finding the house, talking to the potential seller, and then making that connection. So it's about consistently bringing the deals to serious buyers. You want to make sure that you have a investor, or it's usually an investor buyer that's gonna take your leads and work those leads consistently for you. Okay, so that's our kind of money-making techniques, right? Short-term, relatively money, and then you either get a big chunk of payday after a project, the length of a project, or a little bit shorter time frame. You don't make as much, you still make some money, and then for bird dog, you make kind of a side hustle kind of money, and you can kind of learn the game. Some people are just satisfied, people go, well, I can start bird dogging, just kind of learn it and make a little bit of money. And then as I get better and better at it, I can start moving up the food chain and, start flipping and doing bigger projects. Cool. Now, usually when we see this, right, we see kind of, like I said, a progression of the roles. First you do bird dog because you have kind of like the lowest amount of risk. You don't need a lot of money to get started, and then you kind of move up to wholesaling. You can make a little more money, and then as you accumulate more of that capital, you can start doing fix and flip projects. And then this is kind of lead into our next segment, is when you're starting to do fix and flip, you can start getting a big chunk of capital. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna just spend it? Well, no, usually you invest it, right? You either invest it in other asset classes, or you can invest it in real estate as an asset class in the form of a rental property. And that's kind of what we're gonna talk about as one of our wealth building techniques. Cool. We're gonna talk about the 3 wealth building techniques. Okay, so the first step is buy and hold. So you buy usually a pretty solid rental property, right? You put a good tenant in it, right? And you let them help you pay down the mortgage. They're gonna pay you rent every month, and you subtract after all the expenses that includes mortgage. Ideally, you have the leftover, so you have a monthly cash flow every month to as the owner of the property, in addition to the mortgage being paid down. So over time, mortgage gets paid down, you're building up equity, and every month you're getting a small cash flow. So it's a way of kind of building wealth and making money a little bit trickle at a time. You're not making a big chunk at a time, but you are slowly building that wealth. plenty of examples of properties, especially in the beginning. You probably have a smaller cash flow, but over time, as the rental lease number goes up in the area, you're going to be able to increase your monthly rent also. I think on average, our rental properties, we're aiming for you know 300 to 500 per door to start. Usually, if it's break even, we're pretty good. But usually, kind of if you have a little bit of cash flow, then you have some margin for maintenance costs and anything like that, and you kind of build up that your piggy bank with that monthly cash flow. So it's always very nice to have. Okay, so you want to look for good, solid rental properties. So for buy and hold, this is another rule of thumb. Okay, it's called a 1% rule of thumb. And what that means is that your monthly rent should be 1% of how much you put into the house. So let's say in this case, if the, you got to do it kind of in reverse, because what we can know is what the rent would be. And you do that by running a comparative market analysis, figuring out how much the average rent is kind of going for similar houses in the area. So in this case, let's say the monthly rent is 2,500. Then with that 1%, I multiply by 100. So the most I would put out to acquire this house is 250,000, because that 1% is here. And that 1% is gonna make it so that I always make a cash flow. Okay, so we want to follow that 1% relatively religiously, especially when you're just starting out. So if there is repair, we subtract the repair, and then my maximum allowable offer or my distress offer is 230,000. Okay, if I buy at 230, I fix it up with 20K, my total all in is 250, and I rent it out for that 1%, I'm good. That's what that 1% is about. Okay, so let's break down that 1%. Okay, how does it really make sure that we cover our all our expenses and make sure it brings me a cash flow? So this is an idealized, right, example. This, we can. I think if you're interested in real life examples, we can probably do it on a one-on-one basis or in our office hours. So let's say this is in this example, right, $2,500 a month. You have mortgage, which is principal and interest. Okay, relatively, it's like around this number, 1,200. The property taxes, insurance. If there's HOA, there's HOA, and then you should always have a small budget for maintenance of the house. After you subtract everything, you would make a monthly cash flow. Okay, so in this example, 575 is a pretty good number, or almost $600 to start, and that's just for one property. So, as a landlord, this is how much money I would make in one house, right? And that's relatively pretty passive income. If I manage it myself, if I hire a property manager, which we usually do, some of that there would be additional expense, right, for the property manager, but I would still make a cash flow. Now, if every month I make this much, then I will be able to make and that's just one house. If I have 10 houses, then I would make almost $6,000 a month. And that would make it about 69,000 a year. So if you have 10 houses, that's a little bit better than median income in today's world. If I own 20 houses, then I'm kind of 2 or 3 times of the median income. I would make 138,000 a year, and that's a really good way of making sure the property is making money for you. Right, really good way to make money. And in buy and hold, you're in the landlord business, which means you're going to be working with a property manager to help you manage your property, or you directly deal with the tenants, and you got to deal with tenants and toilets, all these issues. Your attention is going to be focused on making sure all your properties are leased, right? Good occupancy rate, and they're generating cash flow on a consistent basis. So a couple of things that could be risky as a landlord is you have vacancy, high vacancy. In fact, we had a rental property that sat vacant for like 6 months. That really ate up our profits. In fact, we had to kind of keep the mortgage payments going, right? So that's a risk you want to be very cognizant of. Make sure you can reduce the vacancy, and then you want to have a good tenant quality so that they will keep your house well, and they will consistently pay you rent. You don't. The last thing you want is to have tenants stop paying, and then you have to figure out the eviction process, get them out, and then they trash your place. So make sure you have a really high quality tenant that takes good care of your property, good credits and everything. So having good background check and really good process is a very key part of this business. So buy and hold, all right. We call it a wealth building technique, okay? And this is just like the first step, okay? So, but these are very exciting. So number one is you get your monthly cash flow, right? You can, as you build up that monthly cash flow, you can save that up, and it could become a down payment for another property. That's one. The second one is called appreciation. So there are two types of appreciation. One is naturally the house value goes up over time. And so that's what we call natural appreciation. We're not going to dive into why that happens and the kind of financial side of things, but let's just kind of take it as a given that there is a natural appreciation on the property. You can also do forced appreciation, where you, if you buy at buy a house that requires repair, and then you fix it up, you repair it, you can force it to appreciate. And then there is tax savings such as depreciation and interest write-off, operating expense write-off. And then finally, because every month you're paying the mortgage and you're paying down the principal, so you're building up that equity. So there is a scalability in this sense, where profits and the equity of one property can be leveraged to buy additional properties, and you can build a portfolio. And I think it's always a good way to kind of start. What's one way to kind of say is that if you start accumulating, right? A lot of these properties, kind of like playing Monopoly, right? You want to have all these houses. You can collect more rent, and then when you have multiple houses, then you can start going, well, okay, should I want to keep buying more houses, or should I want to change all of these houses into a hotel, right? Into a kind of bigger type of maybe a commercial property or whatnot. So this is kind of the way to do it. So there is relatively stability in buy and hold because you're less dependent on the short-term market swing, as opposed to flipping, and then you can always kind of ride out the downturns as long as the property continue to cash flow with a tenant in it. So, in terms of risk, I talk about bad tenants, poor screening. I talk about vacancy can hurt your cash flow, and if there's a oversupply of housing in the area, then you're gonna potentially sit on that vacancy. So you want to pay attention to those kind of risk and make sure that you really understand the local market before you kind of get into that. Okay, next is the Burr method. The Burr method is a way for you to scale your buy and hold strategy. So if you like, the rent that you're getting in one house, you want to do more of it. This is how you do it. You can kind of accumulate and build a portfolio of properties this way. So what Burr stands for is buy, rehab, rent, refi, and repeat. So number one is you buy a property that's distressed and undervalued. Okay, you could certainly buy a rent ready, move in ready house. Then you're not going to use this Burr method. You can buy it and just collect a rental. That's one way to do it. To kind of use this strategy, and we'll talk about the benefits of this strategy. Why we want to do this is that you want to buy at undervalue and distressed, and then you are gonna rehab it and force it to increase in value. Okay, and now it's all nice and ready to rent. You rent it out, put a tenant in there, and then you can. Usually, when you do a rehab, you use a short-term, hard money or private money loan. So you would, after you put a tenant in, you can refinance it to a 30-year loan. And then yeah, when you refinance, you will buy out the existing loan, right? The short-term loan is gone. And because when you originally took the short-term loan, your value is here. After you rehab it, your value is here now, is much higher. So when you refi, you might be able to, usually you cash out some money, okay, because of the difference of when you first bought it, it was undervalued. After you fix it up, it's at a higher value. So when you do a refi, you can take cash out, and then you can use that cash as the capital to repeat this process. So how Burr makes money? Number one is force appreciation, right? That rehab pushes the value up after a few months of the project, and it creates equity beyond what the market appreciation, the natural appreciation can provide. Then the second one is you have an asset that's consistently creating a cash flow for you. So it pays down the debt for you in addition to having kind of the leftover profit that you can pocket every month. And then the capital gets recycled because when you do a refi, you take all that money out, and you might be able to get some additional cash out as well. So now you can use it to reinvest into more properties. And then finally is the loan pay down, right? Because again, you got a tenant in there that's paying down your loan, and you can build up that equity. So, in order to do this really well, you gotta make sure that you have good discipline in your due diligence, right? You gotta know your after repair value very well. You gotta know your rehab very well, and your rent projection very well. Another risk is financing. So your short-term loan is expensive and also risky. So you want to make sure you kind of manage the rehab really well, and also you'll be able to kind of refi after. And then there's also lending risk, all right? Like, so what happens if after you fix it up, the house, you don't qualify or you can't get the refi money so that you can keep this wheel going. That's certainly a risk in terms of refinance. And so, in all, the Burr is more of an advanced form of buy and hold, and it's more of a scaling tool. It's still a really good long-term rental investing, but it really allows you to reuse the capital, and you can kind of grow a lot faster using this method. Because when you do refi, you're using not a bank conventional loan, but you're using a debt service, a DSCR loan, a debt service ratio, special loan for rental properties. So that allows you to really scale that. Okay, any questions you have, right? Feel free to use the chat or uh, save it and ask it during office hours. We welcome it either way. Okay. Now let's talk about another step, right? Let's take this bird step further, and then I'll have a really nice example to really kind of show and demonstrate to you, how to put all this together and how it works. This is super exciting. Okay, the third idea, the third I guess strategy is called buy, borrow, die. And in our Thursday live stream, John actually taught this in one of our sessions. He can explain it much, much better than me, but I want to really highlight the key points, right? So for buy, borrow, and die, this is what you do. You can do it in any kind of asset, right? But here we're talking about real estate as the asset. So if we use real estate as the asset for a long-term wealth and tax planning strategy, is you grow a portfolio of appreciating rental properties. You can borrow against the equity as the value goes up. You borrow against the equity, and then you let your heirs inherit those properties. And when they inherit the property, right, instead of selling, if you sell it, the taxes you gotta pay is based on how much you originally spent on it. But when your heir inherits it, they're gonna inherit it with at the value that it is today when they inherit the property. And so it's what we call step-up basis in terms of tax. So it's a really awesome way to minimize capital gains tax. When you use it's a combination, it's a strategy that uses appreciation in real estate, cash flow, and the lending flexibility to provide money that you can spend during your life, and also deferring or avoiding the tax bill that comes from selling. Because when you sell, you incur capital gains tax. So it's a very advanced strategy, right? Highly recommend that if you're interested, talk to an experienced CPA that knows how to do this. And we're just here to kind of share with you a glimpse of what it would look like. All right. So this is how we do it. The buy, borrow, die. So number one is you buy, right? You accumulate all this real estate. So let's say you have on a small scale, you have one or two properties, but on a bigger scale, you would have a portfolio of say 20 properties, 60 properties, 100 properties, right? And now you have a really good base for that equity growth over time. And anytime there's a economic cycle, the real estate value goes up. And so you have that pure equity. So once you get that equity built up, you can now borrow against the equity. You can take that cash out and you can use it to either pay for your lifestyle or buy new deals and other investments. And over time, you can, as long as you manage your leverage carefully with the cash flow that you can generate from this real estate, then you're going to be in a really good place, right? So make sure you kind of manage that risk, right? Which is why we say it's a more advanced strategy, because you really got to run your numbers and really make sure that you're not pulling too much equity and you're over leveraged, and then you're going to end up losing your portfolio. So you want to make it, you want to do it in a very conservative way, and that's by running the numbers correctly. You can kind of borrow against it either through what we call cash out refi, or HELOC, or a portfolio loan. And investors have kind of used any and all of those methods. Maybe they take out a commercial loan that usually requires a refi after 5 years. Either way, you can do that and take the equity out. So now you have the money that you want to either spend or buy additional assets. And then when you die and pass the portfolio, The final step is about estate planning and tax treatment. When you die while still holding these properties, your heir will receive what we call a step-up basis to the current market value for those assets. And that's the current US tax laws right now. This step up is going to erase the capital gain that has built up during your lifetime, right? Your heir is going to get to enjoy that. And if they choose to keep the rentals, right, then they will get the step up basis. So if they choose to sell it later, they already got the step up, right? They're not going to have your basis when you bought it, but the basis when they inherit it. So even if it rises more over time, the capital gains tax that they have to pay is going to be much lower than if they had to use your cost basis. To further demonstrate this, I'm going to give you an example, like I said, to really kind of add clarity to it. So before I jump to the example, of putting everything together, just want to stress that this is a advanced, what we call hold forever strategy, and it assumes you're comfortable keeping the properties highly leveraged, right, and having estate planning kind of together to put this together. It works best for quality rentals in a strong location, so you can continue to kind of have that cash flow going on, and having a conservative leverage in place. Make sure that your professional team is kind of all working together to make sure that this works. And then another thing is that the tax laws can change. So buy, borrow, die as a framework may change over time when the tax laws change. So you always want to stay on top of what's happening with the tax law and the legal piece while you employ this strategy. The last remark, look, another kind of more advanced is on the taxes, right? So the size of your estate matters. At the time of this class, there is a federal estate and gift tax exemption. So it's the maximum is at $15 million per person, or roughly $30 million for a married couple. And it's usually taxed at 40%. So basically, if you have less than 15 million as an individual or 30 million as a married couple, then you can qualify for the exemption, right? What you pass down. And then another thing is that each state can have their own estate tax. So, again, always kind of make sure you understand the state tax laws in addition to the federal tax law when you get this planning, when you get this done, right? Make sure you have that estate planning in place before you really kind of dive into this. But what I wanted to really demonstrate to you, with all these caveats, is that if you do it right, this is a very exciting strategy because you can pass down a lot of your wealth to your next generation without having to worry about the taxes, right? They get to, this is how we can build generational wealth. Okay, so to really fully demonstrate this, so let's take the next 5 minutes or so going over these next few slides. Okay, really demonstrate this. Okay, so phase one. Okay, I'm gonna buy a property at 80,000, and I'm buying at a really awesome discount because the after repair value is it's worth 200,000. So now this is because I have to rehab the property. Right? I really have to do a lot of work, put $80,000 in. So my total cost basis is 130,000 when I first put it in. So my cost basis is 130. I borrow all of this with a hard money, 11%, say. But I got it done, and then I have built an equity of 70,000. Right, so that's the difference between how much it's worth now and how much I put into it. I have $70,000 of equity. Okay. So that's the rehab kind of phase, right? Purchase and rehab. Now I rent it out. I'm gonna rent it out, and because the house is worth 200,000, I can take a 80% loan basically from the bank. So 80% of that is 160. And let's just say these are the terms: 30 years term, 70% interest rate, because the bank requires 20% equity, right? I'm gonna leave 40K equity in there, and I can take out $160,000 of the loan. So with that 160,000, I pay back my original loan, right? Because remember, this 130 was hard money. I pay that back, and now I pay all that back, and the difference is 30,000. So I have $30,000 that I kind of made, right? And it's tax free because it's a debt that I took out. And then I also benefit from having a reduced payment. Right? My interest rate is lower. Okay, so it's 12%. The interest rate is actually 12%. All right, and then in addition to that, my house has an equity of 40,000. Okay, so I have 40,000 equity. I have $160,000 of the loan, and taking that loan out, it pays back the hard money original loan that I took out, and I took out 30,000, to spend or invest in another deal, and then every month I have reduced payment. Okay, so that's the next phase. All right, another phase. Okay, third phase. Let's say 15 years later, the market value has gone up tremendously. Right, it has doubled in value, and now I am at $400,000 in terms of market value. My old loan, I remember I had a loan of 160,000. Well, over time, I have paid that down, and it's 130,000 now. Well, now I can do another refi. Okay, I can do a refi. Remember, the bank wants to keep 20% equity. So out of the 400,000, I take our loan for 320,000, and I keep $80,000 equity in the house. So that 320 I'm gonna use 130 to pay back the old loan. Right, the old loan was 130, and the difference is 190. So now I have $190,000 I can put in different places or buy more properties. Okay, I may choose to keep some myself and really enjoy it, have fun with it, or that's your wealth allocation. Allocation? No, allocation. You can allocate different percentage of that cash out, whatever you want to do. Right, it's your money. So kind of the aftermath of this phase is that you have $80,000 in equity, you have $320,000 loan with the bank, and you have taken out $190,000 that you can use. And again, it's tax free because it's debt. Then we have phase 4. Okay, so let's say another 20 years later, you are at the end of your of the life that you enjoy so well. Okay, now the market value has doubled again to 800,000. The original loan you have paid down to 200,000, right? Because you've been paying that consistently for 20 years by then. So then the equity is 800. Apologize, excuse the typo. 800,000 minus 200,000 equals to 600,000. So in this case, if the owner sells before death, well, you have the amount of equity minus your cost basis of 100,000. So you got to pay capital gains tax of 470,000, and that's a lot of money. You got to pay a lot of capital gains tax. But if you pass it down to the heir, your cost basis, instead of 130, it goes all the way up to 600,000. So apologize on the typo here. So your capital gain is 600,000 minus 600,000. There's no capital gain for the heir. So again, there's some typo here. So what we have spent the past hour on, actually more than an hour, is we went over the top 3 money-making techniques and the wealth building techniques. I hope you really enjoy looking at these examples, and you're getting really excited about the prospect of using real estate to build your wealth, your generational wealth. Now we're gonna have these 2 bonus materials that I'm gonna be sharing with you in just a few minutes. All right. The first one is the rules of thumb in real estate. We went over the 70% rule of thumb. We went over the 30% rule of thumb, and there are 2 more that we want to share with you. And then there's also the glossary, right? The terminology and the language that you're going to use to really do this well. And so we thought these are really awesome resources for you to use. Naturally, at this point, your questions would be, how do I get started? What do I need to do? How can I build that wealth? I hope we got you excited enough to really want to join and play this game. And so this is our recommendation. Okay. First is that if you're not ready to take action yet, right? This is really piquing your interest, but you want to learn more about, how you do it, and maybe through real examples. Well, this is where we really share a live update of the leads, right? The distressed seller leads that we work on, the deals we have acquired and we're improving, and we're in the middle of building a portfolio right now. So where each deal are going, and then we share our market updates, how it affects the real estate investment world. And in addition to that, we have kind of financial planning and wealth building knowledge. So just a wealth of education. Everybody in here, I'm probably the least experienced. Combined, we have almost 100 years of experience in this wealth building side through real estate. So you definitely don't want to miss that. You should be joining on a weekly basis to really pick up the necessary knowledge to play this game well. If you are ready to take action, then you want to, number one, right? As you remember, everything starts from buying a house at a discount. So you want to get a distressed sellers list. The more research, the better. This is our current offering for our distressed sellers list. If you scan that QR code, you can learn more and schedule a demonstration of what that looks like and what it takes to kind of get started. Next, you need to find a mentor or a coach. We highly recommend having someone that you can work with that would drastically increase the likelihood that you'll be succeeding in this game. And in fact, we have a deal accelerator program that's designed to help you do tons of deals, right? Do your first deal first, and then kind of start accelerating from there. So the QR code is specifically for that. Here are all the success stories that we have from our clients. Jordan, 2 deals, 60,000. Salvador, first deal, 30,000. Ismail, 80,000. And so if you want to, kind of join that exclusive club of successful clients, you can scan this QR code and schedule a one-on-one consultation. Let's see if this is something that that you need in your life, and let's see how our solution can help you reach your wealth building and money making goals. And as promised, I got a QR code here for you. You just need to scan that, and it's going to ask you to enter your email address. Just fill that out, and it's probably going to take you 2 seconds to fill that out, and you'll be able to download these 2 bonus gifts. And with that said, our time is up. Thank you for joining us. We want to wish you best of luck and happy investing. I look forward to seeing you in either our live stream or our office hours and get to know you and really help you reach your goals. So appreciate your time and look forward to meeting you in person soon.